Early on in your MBA journey, you'll hit a fork in the road. Which test should you take? The GMAT, GRE, or possibly even the executive assessment? Hi, I'm Jeremy Shinewald, founder of mbaMission, and in this video, I'm joined by Stacey, a GMAT, GRE, and EA instructor and head of curriculum at Manhattan Prep, powered by Kaplan. We'll be discussing the factors you should consider when deciding which test to take, including examining your target school's test averages, trying to discern how well you'll do on each exam, and also considering which schools even offer your test.
There are 3 different exams available for business school, and it's not the case that one is obviously easier or better than the others, so you'll need to figure out which one is the best one for you.
Virtually all schools accept the GMAT and GRE, but the EA was originally built for executive MBA programs. Now, some full-time MBA and specialized master's programs also accept the EA, and we expect the list to grow each year. But for now, the GRE and GMAT are far more broadly accepted. So let's ask the expert who really understands the tests. Are the concepts that different from one to the other?
So all 3 exams test roughly the same quant facts and rules and formulas. On the verbal side, the GRE tests vocabulary, while the GMAT and EA test grammar. The question types can be a little different on the exams, and we'll talk more about that in a bit, but overall, they really are more similar than different. They're also really similar logistically, so all 3 are given both in a testing center and online. All 3 have time management as a major issue when you're taking the test. And they're also all adaptive tests, which means that the tests literally change as you're taking them. They get easier and harder depending on how you're doing while you take it.
So, how do you decide which one to take? Applicants should know that all top MBA programs treat the GMAT and GRE as complete equals, so the programs really have no preference for one over the other. Still, I often joke that the GMAT is the test to do well on, and the GRE is the test to not do that well on. What does that mean? Well, the top programs are protective of their GMAT averages because sky-high averages give them bragging rights and factor into some rankings. So if you're a natural test taker and can see yourself lifting a program's GMAT average, you may want to take the GMAT. It could give you a small advantage in the process. Alternatively, if you're not a natural, you may want to avoid the GMAT, as you could potentially bring down your target program's average, and instead pursue the GRE, as most top programs are, on a relative basis, less focused on protecting their GRE averages. Still, an important note, MBA programs won't just accept any old GRE score. You should still seek to perform at or near their averages. Whether through your quant GRE or your transcript, you'll have to find a way to show that you can manage the quantitative MBA coursework.
And Jeremy, what about the executive assessment? How are admissions officers using that one?
Well, for now, the executive assessment is accepted by the fewest number of schools, but it has some pretty great advantages. It's only 1.5 hours long, half the length of the other 2 exams. More importantly, the EA is used a little differently. You just have to get a good enough score. On the GMAT and GRE, you have to score much higher in order to be competitive for a particular program. So first do your homework. If your schools all accept the EA and you really dread tests, the EA may be worth considering because in a way, the stakes are the lowest.
If you've made it through that whole gauntlet and there still isn't one clear winner, then you're going to want to choose whichever test feels the easiest for you. On the quant section, for the GMAT and EA, you're going to be tested more on your number sense and your ability to think logically about quant concepts, which is what you need to do in business school. And on the GRE, things tend to be more textbook-like, the way you did math in high school. So you need to decide whether you'd rather be able to do quant on the test the way you used to do it in school, or whether you'd rather get a head start on how you'll use quant in grad school. Both are valid choices. If you experience significant performance anxiety on these kinds of tests, you might find that the GRE and the EA are less stressful to take. On those 2 tests, you can move around among a small block of questions and decide the order in which you want to answer them. On the GMAT, you don't get to do that. You have to answer the questions in order. So the GRE and the EA can feel a bit less stressful because the exams are a little bit more flexible in that way. And if you're debating between 2 tests, you can always try a practice test of each one and just see how it goes and then make your choice. So take the 2 tests a few days or a week apart so that you're not too tired out from the first one. And afterwards, analyze not just your score and how you did, but what you would need to do to improve on that test. And then use that knowledge to help you make the call. And whichever test you decide to take in the end, you've got to give yourself about 3 to 6 months total. And of course, you're going to want to seek out some high quality study materials. All of the official test makers for these exams, they have official practice tests and official practice questions. Definitely use those. And also take advantage of free material from test prep companies. Manhattan Prep, we have free starter kits for all of the exams, so take a look.
And once you've decided which test to take and are happy with your score, please reach out to mbaMission for a free 30-minute consultation. We'll be happy to answer your initial questions about applying to business school and give you our honest opinion on your candidacy. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, if you enjoyed this video and want to get more MBA admissions and application tips, don't forget to like it and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining me, Stacey.
My pleasure.